Beyonce for sure. I love her. Like, I love Beyonce. Jay-Z too, I really admire the boy.
Rihanna just sent shockwaves through the internet with her reaction to the new Netflix Diddy documentary. She flat out dismissed it as fake news, suggesting that key details were intentionally left out. And she didn't stop there. Rihanna went a step further, hinting at what she described as hidden connections involving Beyoncé and the wider controversy. Social media instantly erupted. Based on what Rihanna implied, Diddy's private gatherings allegedly included some of the biggest names in music, and according to her, Beyoncé's name keeps surfacing in ways the documentary never even addressed. If any of that holds weight, it could completely shift how fans view hip-hop's most powerful inner circles, especially with the documentary pulling in over 20 million views in just its first week. But Rihanna wasn't done questioning the project's credibility. She hinted that Beyoncé may not have simply been on the sidelines, but possibly aware of or connected to what was happening behind closed doors. She framed everything as unanswered questions, not confirmed facts. But the impact still landed hard. We've seen celebrity drama before, but this feels different. This isn't random tabloid noise. This is Rihanna, someone who spent years carefully crafting her public image, now openly challenging one of the most protected figures in music and linking that name to Diddy's most disturbing controversies. Sources close to the situation claim Rihanna's words weren't accidental. They say every comment was placed deliberately, dropped in a way that guaranteed the internet would light up within minutes. Every pause, every hint, every post felt calculated and fans noticed immediately. Meanwhile, the documentary, executive produced by 50 Cent, had already painted a dark portrait of Diddy, highlighting serious allegations, past legal trouble, and behind-the-scenes footage showing panic before authorities stepped in. But Rihanna's move flipped the narrative completely. Instead of all eyes staying on the documentary, she redirected the spotlight straight onto Beyoncé, changing the conversation overnight. That's someone treated like royalty by a global fan base that dissects every move she makes. Rihanna never made direct accusations, but her hints pointed to connections that seemed to run far deeper than basic rumors or petty industry drama. And if even a fraction of what she implied turns out to be true, this goes way beyond jealousy or old tension. It could crack the carefully protected public image surrounding two of the most powerful music families ever, and once those cracks appear, there's no easy way to seal them back up. So let's rewind and really break down why this moment matters. The Netflix series already sent shockwaves through the industry, pulling back the curtain on long-standing allegations tied to Diddy's behavior over the years. Former associates and public accounts described toxic environments, extreme pressure, and disturbing patterns connected to his inner circle. But this is where Rihanna's comments hit the hardest. Despite all those revelations, the documentary allegedly sidestepped deeper relationships between Diddy, Jay-Z, and Beyoncé, connections Rihanna strongly suggested were impossible to ignore.
And Rihanna isn't just some outsider throwing random shots. She's been directly linked to Jay-Z in the past through widely discussed rumors, which makes her perspective feel a lot closer to the situation than many people want to admit. For years, fans have whispered about tension between Rihanna and Beyoncé, breaking down lyrics, interviews, and public moments for hidden meaning. Now, with Rihanna dropping these fresh hints, some believe those long-running theories suddenly don't feel so far-fetched. If her suggestions about involvement within Diddy's private circle carry any weight, the fallout wouldn't stop at personal drama. It could cut straight into Jay-Z's legacy, his business empire, and the carefully polished image surrounding one of music's most powerful couples. And the timing only makes it more intense. Rihanna's remarks come as Jay-Z is already facing renewed public scrutiny after a civil lawsuit tied to past events resurfaced, claims that remain unresolved and unproven. No conclusions have been reached, but the overlap has only fueled debate and raised even more uncomfortable questions across the industry. The plaintiff, identified only as Jane Doe, alleged both men were present during an incident at a private residence. Claims Jay-Z's legal team quickly dismissed as a shameless publicity stunt. No findings have been made, and the case remains disputed. Still, the timing of Rihanna's comments has people watching closely. Because if there's even a small chance Beyoncé was connected to Diddy's inner circle the way Rihanna hinted, it opens a much bigger, more unsettling question. How many people around them knew what was happening, stayed quiet, or simply looked the other way? And what does that say about an industry that's protected power for decades? Now let's talk about the elephant nobody likes to acknowledge, the Rihanna and Beyoncé feud. This tension didn't start overnight. For years, insiders have claimed the two stars were locked in an icy standoff, with Jay-Z right in the middle. Fans still point to the 2016 Grammys, when Rihanna's Anti was shut out of major categories while Lemonade dominated. Online backlash exploded, accusing the Academy of playing favorites and blocking Rihanna from outshining Beyoncé. Rihanna even liked posts calling out the Grammys before pulling back and urging unity among black women. But by that point, the energy had already shifted. People still point back to a 2015 press conference where the two reportedly refused to stand next to each other, forcing handlers to awkwardly keep them apart. Nothing was ever officially confirmed, but the tension was loud without a single word being said. Cameras caught just one stiff, forced smile between them, but sources insist that off-camera, the vibe was heavy. People close to the moment said the air was thick with unspoken rivalry, the kind you don't need words to recognize. And now, with Rihanna's recent comments resurfacing, that long-running subtext suddenly feels impossible to ignore. If Beyoncé was connected to Diddy's world in the way Rihanna hinted, without making direct accusations, it raises a chilling possibility. What if this feud was never really about awards, charts, or competition at all? Some fans are now questioning whether Rihanna, long rumored to have had her own complicated history with Jay-Z, knows far more than she's ever publicly revealed. The timing of the Netflix documentary only pours gasoline on the fire. The series dropped just months after Diddy's conviction, instantly becoming a lightning rod for backlash and debate. But the man behind the project, 50 Cent, is far from neutral. He spent years publicly feuding with Diddy, even mocking him online throughout the legal process. When the documentary premiered, Diddy's team fired back, calling it a shameless hit piece built on stolen footage. His mother, Janice Combs, also released a strong statement, flatly rejecting claims about her parenting as false. Still, despite the pushback, the series keeps gaining traction. Even people connected to the trial have reportedly spoken out, sharing lingering doubts and unanswered questions that continue to fuel the controversy. One juror later admitted they struggled with the human trafficking charge, saying that in their view, domestic violence wasn't what the case was officially centered on. Another juror described Diddy and Cassie's relationship as very, very complicated, suggesting a dynamic where power, pressure, and consent were deeply intertwined. Now, with Rihanna's comments entering the mix, the narrative shifts yet again. Because if Beyoncé truly moved within that same world, as Rihanna implied without spelling it out, the question goes beyond actions. It becomes about awareness. What did she know? When did she know it? And why was nothing ever said publicly? And things get even more uncomfortable when you look back at what the documentary already revealed. It outlined allegations that Diddy sought extreme control over those around him, including disturbing accounts from Cassie describing exhausting, multi-day situations she said she felt pressured into.
And I'm not saying allegedly.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying, Sean Carter, you're a piece of shit. Taking Pimp C wasn't bad enough. You just want to go down there and you want to just remove all of the balls from every real gangster in Houston.
Former assistants also came forward with disturbing stories of intimidation and fear, painting a picture of an environment ruled by dominance and enforced silence. So if Beyoncé was present in any part of that circle, as Rihanna hinted, it raises deeply uncomfortable questions. Was she trapped in the same system, willingly involved, or caught somewhere in between? And what does that say about the powerful men around her, especially figures like Jay-Z, who built massive empires while remaining publicly silent? At this point, this story is no longer about just one person. It points to a much larger web of influence, fame, and protection that may have gone unchecked for years. And the money side only makes it heavier. Diddy's conviction didn't just result in prison time. It triggered serious financial fallout. His legal team is now facing a flood of civil lawsuits, with more than 50 cases still pending, keeping pressure high and the spotlight relentless. An empire once valued in the billions is now visibly cracking. At the same time, Jay-Z's own business ventures are facing renewed scrutiny. Old financial decisions are being re-examined, and past associations fans never fully forgot are resurfacing. And this is why so many people think this moment matters. If Rihanna's hints really gain traction online, the domino effect could be massive. Because if Beyoncé truly had deeper ties to Diddy's world, as Rihanna suggested without saying it outright, it naturally raises questions about Jay-Z's exposure as well. This isn't just about one lawsuit or a single headline. It's about how many unresolved issues may still be lingering beneath the surface. With Diddy already behind bars, the focus is shifting fast. The question isn't only what he did, but who else could get pulled into the fallout as more people start speaking up. And then there are the fans, the real accelerators of this entire firestorm. Social media is already exploding with theories. Some believe Rihanna's comments were a calculated strike aimed directly at Beyoncé's flawless public image. Others think this is just the first visible crack in a much bigger industry silence finally breaking open. People are digging up old documentaries, past interviews, and long-buried stories. Some are revisiting claims that were never proven, while others point to former publicists who later admitted to exaggerating or even fabricating rumors years ago for publicity. One former publicist, Jonathan Hay, has openly said a past story involving Rihanna and Jay-Z was manufactured as a PR move back in 2005. He also acknowledged that many rumors from that era were never backed by evidence and shouldn't be treated as fact. Still, the sheer volume of resurfaced stories makes one thing clear. Once the internet starts connecting dots, real or imagined, the pressure doesn't ease up. It only intensifies, and the spotlight keeps getting hotter. Now, with Rihanna's comments out in the open, the pieces are lining up in a way that feels less like coincidence and more like random timing and more like a pattern people can't ignore anymore. What once sounded like distant whispers is now being examined under a much sharper lens, with the public connecting dots faster than ever. But the loudest detail in all of this might be the silence. Beyoncé's team hasn't responded at all. Jay-Z's camp remains quiet. Diddy's legal team is buried in court battles and in no position to fight another public war. And Rihanna? She hasn't clarified, denied, or expanded on anything. She's letting the speculation sit. In an industry where image is everything, silence can be the loudest move of all. Sometimes what isn't said creates more noise than any statement ever could. And right now, the public imagination is running wild, filling in gaps with theories, timelines, and unanswered questions. So where does that leave everyone? With more questions than answers. If Rihanna's hints are rooted in truth, what other stories are still hiding in the shadows of Diddy's former empire, waiting to surface? And if Beyoncé was ever connected to that world in ways not yet explained, what does that say about the powerful figures around her who benefited from keeping everything polished and protected? Figures like Jay-Z, whose legacy has long been tied to success, influence, and cultural leadership. The Netflix documentary may have been framed as the final chapter in Diddy's downfall. But with this new wave of attention, it's starting to look more like the opening of a much bigger conversation, one that refuses to stay quiet. And with Rihanna's comments now in the mix, this story clearly isn't over. It feels like it's only beginning. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that when it comes to hip-hop's elite, the full truth is usually the last thing to surface. Now let's peel the layers back even further. If Beyoncé was connected to Diddy's private world in the way Rihanna hinted, without making direct accusations, some insiders believe it could help explain Jay-Z's long-standing silence during past controversies. Silence that, until now, many brushed off as strategic or calculated. But this shifts the conversation into much darker territory. Because now we're not talking about a simple rivalry between two global superstars. We're talking about the possibility of a quiet understanding, a shared agreement where powerful figures chose discretion over accountability. If even part of that speculation holds weight, the implications go far beyond personal drama. They point straight to an industry built on loyalty, protection, and influence strong enough to keep uncomfortable stories buried for years. Some sources claim Beyoncé's connection went further than simply being present at certain gatherings. Nothing has been proven, and these claims remain unverified. But the fact that they're resurfacing now has reignited debate about how deeply power and silence may be intertwined at the very top of entertainment. If any of this turns out to be true, it wouldn't just shake Jay-Z on a personal level. It would crack the carefully constructed legacy the Carters have spent decades protecting. This is a couple celebrated as the ultimate symbol of Black excellence, a power duo whose every move is treated like a cultural statement with global impact. But what if that polished image was never the full picture? What if behind closed doors, the reality was far messier, with decisions that are only now being questioned? Rihanna's comments didn't accuse anyone outright, but they forced people to ask an uncomfortable question. Uncomfortable question: who else was in the room when the cameras were off? The documentary may have centered on Diddy's downfall, but Rihanna's words widened the frame. Suddenly, fans aren't just looking at one man. They're looking at the powerful circles that surrounded him for years.
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact.
And this is where things really start to get heavy. Critics say this isn't petty drama or surface-level shade. If alliances begin to crack, it could expose long-protected relationships inside the music industry, relationships built on loyalty, silence, and mutual protection. And we can't ignore the long-standing whispers about Rihanna and Jay-Z. Rumors of a past romantic connection were never fully confirmed or denied, but they've lingered for years. If even a fraction of those whispers hold weight, Rihanna's latest move lands differently. It raises a bigger question. Is this strictly about truth and accountability, or is there something deeply personal behind her decision to finally speak up? Or is it even bigger than that? A calculated move to shine light on a system that allowed powerful men to operate untouched for decades. Either way, the timing is impossible to ignore. Diddy is already behind bars. Jay-Z is facing renewed legal scrutiny. And Rihanna's comments don't feel accidental at all. To many watching, this doesn't feel like a random remark. It feels more like a direct hit at the core of hip-hop's most protected dynasty. Not loud, not reckless, strategic. And then there's the pattern, because once you notice it, you can't unsee it. What if these alleged party secrets involve even more high-profile names quietly shielded by money, fame, and influence? The Netflix documentary already hinted at a wider culture of silence, where loyalty was expected and speaking out came with consequences. Former associates like Aubrey O'Day and Rodney Lil Rod Jones described environments where power controlled everything. O'Day, who rose through Bad Boy Records, has spoken publicly about her career allegedly stalling after refusing advances, while Lil Rod's lawsuit claims he faced pressure and exploitative conditions behind the scenes. These claims remain disputed, but they added serious weight to the documentary's narrative. And if Beyoncé was connected to that same world in any capacity, as Rihanna hinted without spelling it out, it opens a chilling question. How many others knew what was happening? How many stayed silent to protect their position? And what does that say about the industry's biggest power players? The ones who built massive empires while unspoken agreements kept everything running smoothly behind closed doors. Now let's connect the dots around Jay-Z's own legal scrutiny. A civil lawsuit tied to events from the early 2000s sent shockwaves through the industry when it resurfaced, forcing renewed attention and uncomfortable questions. Jay-Z's legal team firmly denied the claims, calling them baseless, and no findings have been made. But the timing of Rihanna's comments has changed how people are looking at everything. Because if there's even a small chance Beyoncé moved within Diddy's circle the way Rihanna suggested, without making direct accusations, it raises a much bigger question about silence. Why hasn't Jay-Z spoken more forcefully about Diddy's alleged behavior? Why has Beyoncé stayed quiet too? Some observers now believe that silence isn't about loyalty at all, but protection, not guilt, not confirmation. Self-preservation in an industry where speaking out can open doors you can't close. And if the Carters were ever connected to that world in any meaningful way, the consequences wouldn't stop at reputation. The fallout could hit finances, business deals, partnerships, everything they've built over decades. And the media's role can't be ignored. The Netflix documentary was already a lightning rod, with Diddy's camp attacking it as a biased hit piece built on disputed material. But Rihanna's comments shifted the entire focus. She didn't just challenge the documentary's credibility, she redirected attention straight toward Beyoncé, someone treated like royalty by a global fan base that analyzes every move. And if even a fraction of Rihanna's hints actually matter, this story goes far beyond rumors or rivalry. It becomes about power, proximity, and who was standing where when the spotlight wasn't on. This could unravel the carefully stitched public stories surrounding two of music's biggest dynasties. Because the question isn't only about what Beyoncé may or may not have done. It's about what she might have known, when she knew it, and why nothing was ever said publicly. And here's where things get even more complicated. The documentary already laid out disturbing allegations about Diddy's behavior, including claims that he sought extreme control over people in his orbit. Cassie described feeling trapped in substance-heavy environments she said were difficult to escape. Former assistants shared chilling accounts that painted a picture of fear, pressure, and intimidation behind closed doors. One former assistant, Capricorn Clark, even alleged Diddy once threatened her with a weapon during a volatile personal conflict. None of these claims have been proven, but together, they added to the documentary's dark portrayal of power being abused. So if Beyoncé was present in any part of that world, as Rihanna suggested without making direct claims, it forces difficult questions. Was she navigating the same pressures? Was she protected by the system, or stuck somewhere in the middle, inside a structure that rewarded silence? And then there are the men around them. Figures like Jay-Z, who built massive empires while staying publicly distant from these controversies. Critics argue this isn't just about one individual anymore. It points to a broader network of power players who allegedly benefited from not asking questions for decades. The financial side only raises the stakes. Diddy's conviction didn't just lead to prison time. It triggered a financial collapse. Dozens of civil lawsuits are still pending, more than 50 by some counts, as an empire once valued in the billions continues to crumble. At the same time, Jay-Z's own business history is facing renewed scrutiny, with old financial decisions and past industry associations resurfacing as the spotlight grows harder to escape. If Rihanna's hints continue gaining traction, the domino effect could be massive. Because if Beyoncé was connected to Diddy's world in any real way, as Rihanna suggested without saying it outright, it naturally raises questions about Jay-Z's exposure too. And let's be clear, this isn't about one old lawsuit or a single headline. With Diddy already behind bars, the focus is shifting toward who else might get pulled into the fallout as more stories resurface. As the dust settles on Rihanna's explosive comments, one thing is obvious. If Beyoncé's alleged connection to Diddy's inner circle turns out to be more than rumor, the music industry's polished image could crack wide open. The real question is, will the full truth ever come out? Or will powerful forces manage to bury it, like so many stories before? Right now, all the pieces are on the table. The players are in position, and the entire world is watching every move, every silence, and every headline. So what do you think? Does Beyoncé's silence speak volumes? Or is this just another chapter in hip-hop's never-ending power drama? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because in this world, the next bombshell is always right around the corner. Stay sharp, stay curious, and never forget, in the game of fame and power, the truth is the one thing money can't buy.